All right, this next video is going to continue with the grid in response. These are going to be for questions 9, 10, and 11. So for number 9, the question it's the one about the horse and the track. So 1 lap around a track we know is equal to 1/8 of a mile. So I'm going to write that here so we know it. Is 1 lap. 1 lap. Then, sorry, that is supposed to say 1 lap. Then we know that the horse ran a distance of 9 laps in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. The question we want to know is speed in miles per minute. So the question is we need to know in miles per minute. So that's how we want to write our proportion when we're solving it. So we know that 1/8 of a mile is 9 laps. So 9 laps then, you would just change, so both of these are 1, so then you would do the same thing for here. So then that means 9 laps would be 9/8 of a mile. So just over 1 full mile. So we want to know how many miles per minute. So if you can do 9/8 of a mile in 2.5 minutes. Now let's real fast change 2.5 or 2.5 to an improper fraction. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5, so we get 5 halves. So that's what we're going to use in our proportion. So 9/8 over 5 halves, this is miles per minute, just like we said our question wanted to be, equals, we know that we need X amount of miles in 1 minute. So then we're going to cross multiply and solve. You should be seeing a pattern here in these last couple of problems we've been doing. So 5 halves X equals 9/8. So then we need to divide both sides by 5 halves, which then means that we have 9/8 divided by 5 halves, and you want to do keep, flip, change. So 9/8 times 2/5, which equals 18 over 40. So then when you reduce that, you're going to divide top and bottom by 2, and you would get 9 over 20. So that would be an acceptable answer, but then you notice in your answer key that it said 0.45. So if you multiply top and bottom by 5, you'd get 45 over 100, which is where they get 0.45, so 45 hundredths of a mile. So either of these would be an acceptable answer in your gridded response. So if you need to finish copying, you can pause the video, but I'm going to go ahead and move on to number 10 and flip the sheet over. Now number 10 is the question about selling ladders. This one I had a lot of questions on, and it's a couple steps, so I'm going to try and go through it slowly. So we know that a store is selling ladders, and we know that the retail price was a 40% markup over the manufacturer price. So if we said that the manufacturer price, so I'll say the manufacturer price was the original amount, so we'll call that the 100%. Then the retail price is 40% more than that. So in order to write it in terms of a decimal, how we can use something in an equation, we would want to use it, combine these, which would be 140%, but then make it a decimal. So say 1.4. Well, then we know that a month later, that price was reduced by 25%. So reduce this retail price by 25%. So essentially what we're trying to find is 25% or 0.025 of this price to find that reduction. So it's essentially saying 25% off 1.4. So if you did 1.4 times 0.25, you would have to do the math on the side. For the sake of time, I've already done it. You would get 0.35. So essentially 0.35 is the 25% of that original amount. Now, just like any other time you find a discount, you then need to subtract that from the original amount. So this was the 25%, but since it was 25% off, we need the original 75%. So then we're going to do 1.4 minus 0.35. Then you would get 1.05. So if you compare this price, we can move the decimal so we can compare it to our original price. We know that it's now at 105% when our original was at 100%. So the question is asking, once when you've gotten to this 105%, how much more are you at than from your original manufacturer price? So if you then just subtracted these, the 105 minus 100%, that's where that 5% comes from. That's in the answer. So real quick summary. We did the manufacturer price plus 40, because that's the markup to get 140. We then took the 20% off. Remember, 25% of always means multiply to get this number. We then subtracted that from the original amount to get the 75% since 25% was marked off. And then compared these two prices to find the difference in price. Alright, and last one on this video, number 11. So this one is pretty simple. We're talking about just fractions and finding out what amount is left over after subtracting out some fractions. So if we know that Mr. Adams had 24 guests at his house party, and we're given certain things that he had to do. So part A, there was 1/3 of the 24 guests. So remember what I just said before, that of always means times. So 1/3 of 24 is 8. So that's part A. Then part B, it says 1/4 of the guests brought a dessert. So then again, we're multiplying, we get 6. And then finally the rest were the ones that bought chips. So we want to know how many bought chips. So we started out with 24. We know that we had 14 that brought other things, because 8 plus 6 is 14. So then we know that 10 bought chips. Added these up, subtracted it from the original, and that's how many are left. You could always check your answer by adding all three of these numbers, and you know you'd add up to 24, which is your original amount of guests.